in 314 for a shooting at Century Theaters. They're saying somebody's shooting in the auditorium.
Roger, keep your fires west of the smoke. You're cleared hot. An officer hit. Send me the world.
Don't go over that fence. Don't go over that fence. Grab the shotgun again.
Welcome to Tactical Tangents.
Welcome back to Tactical Tangents. This is Mike. This episode is brought to you by Devos Outdoor, your go-to source for lightweight, portable, and versatile lighting solutions built for the outdoors and beyond. Whether you need scene lighting for public safety emergencies or reliable area lighting for your campsite, Devos has you covered. Their LED lanterns offer variable outputs and color options with Bluetooth remote controls that provide a complete ecosystem of lighting in a compact and easy-to-deploy package. These lights are perfect for camping, hunting, search and rescue, crime scene processing, and nighttime operations. Devos optimizes your experience and alleviates your pain points with extra power banks, solar panels, and more. Devos Outdoor ensures that you have long-lasting portable lighting no matter where you are. Check out their lineup at Devos, D-E-V-O-S, outdoor.com or find them on Amazon. Again, that's Devos, D-E-V-O-S, outdoor.com. This episode was also brought to you by Loa Boots. Start your day off on the right foot with footwear that was designed for those who stand relentlessly in the face of adversity. I wear Loa every single day, for miles on canine searches and for hours on tactical operations in inclement weather. No matter what, Loa keeps me moving. Whether you run, hike, hunt, or fight, on the streets or out in the woods, Loa has the gear you need to help you conquer whatever challenges you face. Go check out their new line of trail running shoes at Loa Boots, L-O-W-A Boots.com, and get outside for some fresh air and daylight. Loa, for those who know where they're going and won't stop until they get there.
So, Mike, you shoot quite a bit for work. You're like a SWAT guy. What does a typical range session look like for you?
I don't know that I could say I shoot a lot. It's hard when you get to a point where you're teaching a lot.
Yeah.
If I take the canine guys out, for example, like a lot of times I'm the instructor, or I go down and help the recruits and I'm teaching. And so I'm not getting as much trigger time as I once did. But on SWAT training days, it just depends. Some days I'm teaching, some days someone else is running drills and I'm doing it. But I can run you through the other day, right? Like this week's training day, we did some shooting and there was a rifle drill that we did. And so the entire SWAT team will go out to the range. We had a full first half of the day of training, right? We go to one of the stations where all of our SWAT stuff is. We had some PT that we did. We did some administrative stuff. We did some scenarios, some like decision-making, simunition type, shoot, no shoot drills working out of cars and in and around cars that we do. We did a thing we called car tag, which is it's kind of a surveillance practice thing. Then we had lunch, and then we went out to the range and we did some other work. So as far as the range day half of it goes, when we actually went out to the academy, the entire team got split into three groups. One group was doing a night vision course. One group was doing rifle stuff. One group was doing pistol stuff. We do that for about an hour or so each. We'd rotate to each of those stations. So the rifle day in particular, or the rifle section of that, was heavily related to some like working around thresholds and shooting targets around thresholds, like in rooms and houses type of stuff. And then the pistol stuff, we actually used a portion of I think it was an LA County, I don't think it's their qualification, like their SCB, their tactical teams program, but we used some drill we got from them. It was a 38-round course that we did a run through. There was hit factor. It was kind of set up like a competition, but we ran through that.
Can you paint the picture for our listeners on just the layout of the range? Is it like an indoor range, outdoor range? Is it just big open bay? Are you out in the sun?
We're definitely out in the sun, depending on the time of day. Like this week's training day, we were out until midnight. We did 2 p.m. to midnight. So
There's of the actual sun at midnight, right? That's good.
Yeah, the shooting itself was in the evening, but it was still pretty hot. Like Southern Arizona, it's still hot. They're all outdoor ranges. We have an indoor shoot house that we could do some live fire stuff, but there's not like real air conditioning or anything. It's still hot.
Do you have like overhangs? Some sort of like canopy over you?
Yeah, it's a thing that supposedly moves back and forth. It doesn't help a whole lot.
Not so much, yeah.
It's not zero, but it's a pain in the ass to move. So unless you're standing right where it is, it doesn't help you a whole lot. So.
And when you're doing typical range stuff, are you all kitted up, or are you in like shorts and a t-shirt?
Most of the time, we're kitted up. There are times. So some of the stuff we did this week, actually, we stayed pretty slick for. It was kind of just mechanics, but most of the time, we're putting all of our gear on.
What'd you do for lunch?
That particular day, I brought a little. I did some meal prep this week.
Good.
I
Look at you, all
sliced up some sausage and grilled some peppers and onions, and had like a little quinoa medley rice thing, and ancient grains. I don't know. Costco is a packet that I just microwaved and threw in a bowl, mixed with peppers, onions, sauteed some sausage, and then obviously some snacks and stuff as well.
So you're out at the range sauteing a sausage?
Yeah,
like just on the sidewalk?
No. That was my meal prep. I brought that and I threw it in a microwave.
But they have like a microwave out there. There's some sort of kitchen, or do they have a fridge?
Yeah. Microwaves that usually trip the breakers when you use them, but microwaves.
That's good. It's classy. I like it. So for me, a range session is usually a long day, right? It's early morning. We go in, we check out weapons, then we drive to a range, which is usually like a drive. Do academics. There's some sort of like warm-up shooting that you do. It's sort of the qualification course of fire, just a little bit slower and a little bit more deliberate. If you're doing rifle, we re-zero the rifles. And then you shoot to qualify, because that's the whole point, right? When I go, it's to rehack our currencies for shooting. And then some type of competition toward the end, usually to like build up proficiency and confidence. And then we got to clean up. We got to drive back. We get the guns cleaned up. We check them back in. And like, I like shooting. And a day shooting is a hell of a lot more fun than a day of doing bullshit officer stuff like PowerPoint and spreadsheets, right? But it is work, right? At the end of the day. And I am definitely out in the elements. If
training
it's hot
days,
out, I'm hot. Right?
Yeah, training days for us are always long days. And like I said, only part of that day might be shooting, and some days we're not even shooting. But when I talk about shooting, I'm talking we're going to the range, live fire. That doesn't mean there's not simunitions, tactics. Like, we're still doing other stuff typically. And training days in general are always long days, sweaty days, lots of time in kit, sometimes gas masks, like you said. They suck. Like, nothing sounds better at the end of one of those days than a cold beer in the shower while you soak.
Yeah. So you're out in the elements on a tight schedule. Kit means something different for everyone, but often I'm in kit doing it also. Back in the day, I used to have to qualify a gas mask. It's been a minute, I think, since I've had to do that, but that is on the docket. And you're trying to perform, right? You're trying to shoot as well as you can. You got to outperform the dude next to you, obviously. And we're just trying to squeeze, at least on the military side, we're trying to squeeze all of our qualification stuff into one day, right? Like, am I a professional gunslinger? I'm a professional, and I occasionally sling a gun, but I'm not that's not what I do, right? I fly an airplane, and the gun is there in case something goes horribly wrong, right? That is not my primary weapon. My primary weapon is, a guided missile. So,
same, obviously.
Yeah, but that is the context behind why we're trying to squish everything into one day, is because any day I spend doing ground training is a day I'm not flying for proficiency or working on my tactical air skills, right? The thing that I'm actually paid to do, which is take the airplane in and out of harm's way. So we got to make the most of our time. So it ends up being a little bit of a sprint, right? That way we can get it into one day and not 2 or 3 or 4 days, even though we all know that that would make us much more proficient, safe, effective shooters if we could spend 4 days out on the range. It just ain't realistic, right? And I compare that to a recreational day. I love shooting. That's like it's a huge part of my list of hobbies, my identities. I'm a gun nut, right? So a recreational range session for me, it's a lot simpler. Load up my car with like whatever I feel like shooting that day. Drive to my own range that I own. I'm fortunate enough to own a little bit of land. And I have a little pop-up shade. I set up targets. If I wanted to crack a beer, I probably could. I don't from a safety perspective, right? It's a Gatorade. And I shoot, I tear down, I go home, and I can do that in about 2 hours, right? But even when I'm doing that, I'm trying to challenge myself, right? The shooting is the part I'm focusing on, right? And it's a skill. I'm trying to get the fundamentals down. I'm trying to have fun. I'm trying to build my my proficiency and my performance, right? And as I think about human performance, I talk frequently with my friends who work in the realm of human performance, and I have this really awesome dietitian, and she gives me handouts like, "Here, Jim, try this," kind of handouts. To help remind me to eat fewer cheeseburgers and more antioxidants or whatever things. And she's all about trying to maximize our human performance, and she's a rock star, and I love her work. And a while back, she gave me a handout about nutrition on a range qualification day. And I thought it was pretty awesome, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. Kind of starts out, it's just a little one single piece of paper, faster, funnier, right? Of course, we're going to turn this into a hour-long episode because that's how we roll. But, yeah. But I'm just going to run you through it, and Mike's going to jump in as we go. So, range day nutrition, starting with the fact that you're probably not going to have a whole lot of like refrigerator stuff, right? You're not going to have the restaurant right next to you or a cafeteria, dining hall, whatever. So you got to start with non-perishable items. Think about what that is. Do you want to pack an MRE? You can. Like, you can buy them from the military commissary if you're a military type or veteran type.
Or dweeb.
Or a dweeb. But you don't have to. I mean, there are times when, honestly, that's kind of the more useful thing, right? But given a choice, why not, like, beef jerky, right? Turkey or beef. Just pick one without a bunch of added sugars. That's the thing you want to watch for when you're shopping for them, right? A tuna packet or a chicken packet. Those have gotten pretty darn slick these days, right? The little packet things. Fruit, like an apple, an orange, or a banana. Dried fruit, little packet of dried, I don't know, I like mango, probably because it's got all the sugar in it.
Bonus tips if it's like the tahini, like the chili powder one.
Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ooh, I like your moves. Nuts or trail mix. One that isn't half chocolate. That's because my dietitian's mean. But if you ever get bored, Google like the history of trail mix and pemmican and stuff. Like, that goes back a very long way of people trying to figure out how to do basically exactly the same task, which is, pack and travel with non-perishables. Pack some sort of like pretzels or Triscuits. Part of that is you're just trying to keep your sodium up or your electrolytes up, right? Applesauce packets. Seems a little silly to, have my little go-go squeeze, but here we are. Peanut butter and jelly. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to pack a sandwich, do it with 100% whole wheat bread, natural peanut butter, and she was very cool about this, the jam of your choice, the most sugary thing you can find.
Lots of freedom there.
Yeah. A protein bar, like a power bar type thing, RX or Kai's, something like that. Couple notes on that is they do expire. So, check the expiration dates and don't leave them out in the sun. They get pretty gnarly when they've been left out in the sun. That's been my experience with them. And I have not tried these, but I'm interested. She said dry roasted chickpeas. I'm going to keep an eye out. Mike, you got anything on the non-perishables?
No. I think to your point about how some of them get funky in the heat, like even if they're not perishable, sometimes throwing them in like a lunch pail or an insulated cooler of some kind, they might not need to be cold per se, but just to minimize the amount of like heat and melting. Sometimes stuff gets like sticky and gross. And so I've brought a lunchbox even without ice packs, or even if it doesn't need to be cold per se, just to kind of keep it less nasty.
That actually brings up a good point. Often when I go to the range, I'm going to the range with people who don't do it very often. They don't do it recreationally, right? So they kind of don't know what to bring. And I always recommend if you qualify on an irregular basis, like not all the time, sunblock, sunglasses, like a wide brim hat, if you're allowed to wear it, I would.
Like a shamag.
I like being able to double up ear pro. Bring earplugs and also earmuffs if you can. That way you have a choice. If halfway through the day you're like, these things are bugging me, you can switch. A Leatherman or something like a Leatherman. It's amazing how often we go to like zero rifles, and it's the first time the guy next to me has ever tried a zero rifle.
A screwdriver.
You need a screwdriver. You always have to unfuck the M4 somehow. So like when you pack your range bag with all that stuff in it, and at this point I keep a range bag because I do shoot recreationally, also pack a lunch, right? That's kind of the point of this episode is, pack them both and pack for performance, right? So if you're going to pack a cooler, and I recommend it, if you're packing a lunchbox anyway, you might as well throw a little ice pack in there. A couple things that gives you some options, right? You can throw in a string cheese, Greek yogurt, a lunch meat sandwich, something that has actual protein in it, raw veggies, a little baby carrots or something, hummus, and you can put in the perishable fruits, berries, grapes, that kind of thing. So you might as well. And they're getting easier to find and fancier all the time, the ice coolers. I literally steal my kids sometimes because they have the fancy ones. So I'll take that to the range. And that also kind of brings up hydration. So you're going to be hot, you're going to be sweating, and it is amazing how fast your performance degrades as you get dehydrated. There's a reason why we do business with drip drop, right? You've got to stay ahead of the dehydration stuff. So 1, pack the water. 2, drink some water before you even start this whole process. And try to keep the water cold, like get some ice in, at what are the fancy water bottles people use these days? They got Hydro Flasks. They got, what's that, Stanley? The big one?
Nowadays, it's the Stanley. Yeah.
The Stanley. Right? So go ahead and bring it. And when you're on the drive in, tank down some water, right? So pack enough water, bring at least 50% of your body weight in pounds and fluid ounces of water. I can't do that math. Just bring a shit ton of water. That's my recommendation. Like maybe twice as much as you think you need, especially if you don't do it much.
Yeah, have a way to refill it, have a way to keep it cold. I mean, if you load up on ice and then you refill it, the ice might get you through a couple refills. I have a lot on the hydration thing, actually. As far as, we're obviously big fans of Drip Drop. Drip Drop is a medical product. It's been well established as an oral rehydration solution. We obviously use and advocate for that often. We obviously have a relationship with them. And there are competitors, and we're not here to like suss out what's the best or to like talk any trash about other brands. I know that Drip Drop is legit. I know that they work. I know it's awesome. But I also want to point out when it comes to hydration and electrolytes that for the most part, you can get enough electrolytes from just your normal eating and diet and just drink enough water and probably be fine, right? But there's a big caveat to this as it relates to what we're describing about a range day, or for me, like a training day where I'm out in kit for 10 hours. And then towards the end of that day, I might get called to go do an op at the end of it, right? And then be stuck there on overtime. One of the things that a product like Drip Drop is designed to do is help you absorb that fluid and electrolytes quickly. And the sodium part of those electrolytes is important for not only the cellular function, but also it's a factor in fluid retention. So it helps you hold on to that water longer so you don't just pee it out. Where I'm going with this is there's a lot that goes into hydration outside of just like, oh, just drink water, right? Like there is some science and some physiology into that. And something about hydration that maybe we don't talk about enough that has been pretty well studied is that even just being a little bit dehydrated, there's research that shows as little as 2% dehydrated, and we're going by like body weight, body mass, 2% reduction in fluid will affect your performance. And usually when we talk about staying hydrated, we're trying to avoid being a heat casualty. We're talking about heat-related illnesses and things like that. And yes, hydration and electrolytes will affect your physical performance, specifically your aerobic capacity and your power output. But also, perhaps more specifically, when we talk about range stuff, it affects things like your reaction time, visual tracking and perception, memory, estimating distances to a target, and just general skill execution involving motor functions. Those things have been pretty well researched in a range of types of athletes out there. And I don't know, do any of those things sound useful at the range? I would hope so. The thing is, that 2% threshold, that 2% dehydration threshold, most of us probably wake up about there. Like the sweating that you do in bed overnight, you're probably losing enough body mass in fluids just in bed, right? So first thing in the morning, you need to start drinking water. There was a study of firefighters that they did in Orange County, I think, that found that 91% of them showed up to a training drill or training day or exercise in some state of dehydration. And they found that 59% of them reached that 2% threshold within 30 minutes of the training drill. And so again, when I say 2%, I'm talking as measured by like naked body weight, right? Like remember, your clothes absorb some of that sweat that comes off and everything. If you're talking about just body mass, 2% water loss of body weight. So if you wanted to weigh yourself like naked before a workout and after to see how much fluid you lose, that 2% comes pretty quick. It creeps up on you, right? So the point here is that you can be hydrated when you show up to work, when you show up to training, but you can also lose that pretty quickly. And this is where something like Drip Drop comes in really helpful, because if you need to rapidly rehydrate and recover, those things are formulated to absorb quickly. And one of the things in particular about Drip Drop that I hear a lot of commentary about is like the sugar. And people will be like, yeah, well, this other brand of X, Y, and Z like doesn't have so much sugar. And the problem is the sugar is there on purpose, right? It's there. Water follows sugar. It's there to help you absorb that quickly. So
it's got a physiological function, right?
Yes.
And I'll throw another thing on there with Drip Drop or any of the powders, is that a lot of it is just to encourage your brain to drink more water, right? Like you need to drink water. Sometimes drinking water is boring, but guess what? You just got to do it, right? One of the things about drinking a lot of water on a range is at some point you're going to have to pee. And my ability to shoot goes down actually dramatically if I really have to pee, right? And so you'd think, oh, well, whatever, we're dudes, we're just going to go, run to the other side of the berm or
hit
whatever.
the tree line, yep.
Yeah, well, that's cool as long as you're all dudes. But welcome to 2025, 2026, you're probably a mixed group. And so, like, if you're the type of person who runs a range, you might think about having, like, I don't know, some porta potties out there and not super gross ones.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's a just basic humanity, look out for your team kind of thing. Like, do that because you want people to be drinking water. You do not want people who are intentionally dehydrating themselves just because they don't want to have to deal with that, right?
Yeah. So, and the other part of this, when I talk about like rapidly rehydrating, is also in terms of being aggressive. For a lot of us, like we might be out at the range all day, but we're also still in that like operational cycle, right? Where we're at the range all day, but also we might have to perform at the end of the day or early the next day. And so that's where being a little bit more aggressive comes in. Again, there's a lot of research out there. You can go Google it, but the oral rehydration solutions are helpful. You can also, if those are the most effective. There are sports drinks out there that are still more effective than water by itself, and then also just drinking a lot of water. If you're worried about the sugar content and the calories, for the most part, if you're doing this kind of work, that's marginal, right? Like you probably don't really need to sweat it, so to speak. But the point is, it affects your cognitive function as well. It's not just your physical performance. It's not just about avoiding being a heat casualty. You need to understand that your reaction time, your perception, and some of those things will be affected by your hydration. And if you need to perform, you should be aggressive about that and recover well. And yeah, like to Jim's point, it is a pain in the ass when if I'm staying hydrated, I have to pee every 20 minutes. But there have been training iterations where like if you're not peeing every 20 minutes, there's probably an issue when it comes to your ability to perform for the long haul. So.
Yeah, it's all fun and games until you pass out, right? And go out of your way, like bring some shade. If you know you're going to a range that doesn't have any shade, like how many people have like a little pop-up for the kids' soccer game? Like just bring it with you. So as far as the things to pack, the non-perishables, right? You pack a lunch when you pack your range bag, jerky, protein, tuna, chicken packets, fruits, dried fruit, nuts, pretzels, applesauce, some sort of sandwich, Power Bar, Kai's Bar, RX Bar, something like that. Dry roasted chickpeas. Like I said, I'm going to go find them. And then you might as well at that point pack a cooler, right? Throw some ice packs in, some cheese sticks, yogurts, an actual protein meat sandwich, raw veggies, hummus, and then like the perishable fruits. That's the stuff that you should pack. As far as how you should think about it, consider eat before you go to the range. Like actually have breakfast before you go.
Don't wait till you're hungry. Yeah.
I'm one of the worst about this. Like I have a coffee on the way out the door because I'm trying to like chase my kids and stuff.
For me, it's like I don't want to wake up earlier.
Yeah. Because I'm staying up all night recording a podcast.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's I work nights. And so if I have to be up early for training, like I'm going to try to maximize those hours of sleep. And that means less time to like prep a meal or whatever in the morning.
Yeah. So as far as that breakfast, you're looking for lean protein, eggs, turkey sausage, plain Greek yogurt, milk. Okay. Higher fiber carb like oatmeal or oats, whole wheat toast, fruit. Drink water as part of your breakfast. Like that is one of the things that I do before I drink coffee. I drink a full thing of water.
First thing in the morning. Yep.
Your normal amount of caffeine, preferably from coffee instead of energy drinks. Energy drinks are kind of the devil when it comes to nutrition, human performance. Now I realize this
is the thing about like caffeine. And we talked about this a little bit in the episode we did with the sleep doc.
Yeah.
The thing about the amount of caffeine in some of those energy drinks, you just desensitize to it. And so caffeine does have a measurable measurable impact on your performance. It is helpful.
Yep. Mostly my blood pressure, it turns out.
But it has a limit. And once you get desensitized to it, if you're consuming, 400 milligrams a day in 200 milligram doses, you're just not getting the benefit from it that you could if you had a cup of coffee every few hours, right, throughout the day, like
space it out.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so I think that's the biggest issue is you just overconsume it, and it's potentially, it may be harmful, but also it's just not helping anymore. Like you reach that point where it's not helpful. Go listen to that episode though. He talks about it a lot. And one of the things in there is like 7 days you can recalibrate and kind of detox from, you take a week off of caffeine and you can readjust to it. So,
so that will not be happening for me, but energy drinks in general, they're the devil, right? I understand a lot of my dudes really love their white monsters, or when we're deployed, it's the Rippets. I get it. At least dilute it. At least for every one of those, have a water instead, right? Speaking of the water, that's going to be a recurring theme, right? Stay hydrated, is on the drive. When you're driving to work to go check out the gun or whatever, when you're driving from checking out the gun to the range, that is a great time to drink some water, right? Just start sipping, get ahead of the curve. Some people, you'll notice, especially toward the end of a range session, they start kind of getting shaky. Part of that is like it's the caffeine or the fatigue, like muscle fatigue from holding the rifle out. Get stronger. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Hit the gym, bud.
But having a couple of snacks every 2 to 3 hours through the day will help balance that out a little bit, which is one of the reasons you're packing all that stuff in your little lunchbox, right? So consider the examples I listed off earlier. Combine a carb with either a healthy fat or a protein source to kind of keep that energy going through that time frame, and consider some salty snacks, right? Triscuits or pretzels, something like that, right? One thing that I did not appreciate enough when I was young was toxic chemical and heavy metal exposure. So I flew at various times on an airplane that had a whole bunch of that. And we had to sit down with bioenvironmental specialists, and they're like, hey, this is actually maybe really serious, and some things you want to think about. And I'm going a little off script off of her handout right now. I'm going off my own personal experience. Is like, when you come home from the range, your clothes have stuff on them and in them.
And your boots, especially your boots.
Yeah, because you're kicking up lead and
all the
and
brass.
Not just lead, but everything, right? Yeah. So if you can take all that stuff off before you go into your house and hug your kids and hug your wife or your boyfriend, whatever, do it. Okay. Wash them separately. As soon as I'm done on any range, I go wash my hands with lots of water, soap, and specifically cold water. And you might be like, oh, that's not how you wash your hands. That's not how you kill germs. I'm not talking about germs. I'm talking about getting the chemical stuff off of your hands, right? So cold water is actually maybe a little better for that because you're trying to keep your pores closed. And lots of it. The solution to pollution is dilution, right? So lots and lots of water. So I would do that. Pack your food in such a way that you don't have to touch it to eat it. There are such things as lead wipes that you can use to wipe stuff off of your hands. I've never tried them, but if anyone has insights on that, hit us up in the comments. I'd be curious to hear your feedback. Keep your food and water away from the firing line. Just separate it out. Leave it in the car or the van. As far as how your body absorbs heavy metals, being fed, as in being on relatively full stomach, actually decreases your body's tendency to absorb the heavy metals. I think that's a good tidbit. And staying hydrated, same way, helps you pee those heavy metals out. The solution to pollution is dilution.
Yep.
Yep. So that's the little handout. I thought it was brilliant. I think that's the type of thing that should be up in the bathrooms at the range. I don't know how many ranges I've been to where it's got the stupid goddamn, like, people with shorter pistols should stand closer to the firing line or something like that. Like, cool. Thanks, bro. But like, maybe that might be worth having up there. Maybe how to work a tourniquet might be a thing you'd want up at a range. So if you're one of our listeners and you run a range, or you're a range instructor or CADM instructor, whatever, like, this is the kind of thing you can be teaching. And one of the things that your students will get from this is, one, a safer trip to the range, which I think is always kind of a big goal. And two, they actually enjoy it. Shooting's supposed to be fun. Shooting is awesome. I love shooting. Like I said, it's a huge hobby for me. It's a huge part of my identity is being a shooter. And I have had range trips that are freaking miserable. And one of the things that makes them worse is a hangover. Right? Like, or just the feeling of a hangover because you're not drinking enough water. The two are often related. So
for me, I usually feel a little hungover after a range day because I'm just like, I'm smoked.
Just smoked, right? So
or a training day, I should say. I mean,
yeah,
regardless of what we're doing, but
yeah. So that's kind of the point of this is like, what can you do to be a little bit less smoked?
Yeah.
I think these are some things, right?
A couple little things that I have for this. We talked about packing a cooler, and if you're out in the field eating and you're trying to not eat like shit, not eat fast food, not eat gas station food, things like that, try to figure out things that you can get away with eating and not heating up. Stuff that goes okay cold. So things like pasta salads, if it's leftovers or something, like something that you don't need to necessarily warm up helps a lot. There's those like packets of pre-cooked chicken that you can just snack on, throw some kind of carb with it. Or Jim mentioned like a fatty, like healthy fats, avocados, things like that. I don't know if every Costco has it, but my Costco has this like quinoa salad, and they have these Mediterranean chicken skewers. And I can like divvy those out into a few food containers for a week, and boom, I've got like meal prep. I can eat it cold. I don't need to heat it. I don't need a microwave, nothing. It's good to go. There are times...
Standard food safety, though, like cold food cold, hot food hot.
Yeah.
It's in the Bible.
Yeah, totally. And when I think about this, it's not just like out at the range or in training environments. It's also just, I work shift work, right? Like I work night shifts, and sometimes I got to cram meals in between calls and SWAT operations, or even during a SWAT or a surveillance operation. And we might be either left to whatever we're packed, or we have to hit a drive-through or a gas station, and that kind of sucks. One thing about that is if you can bring stuff, that's awesome. But if you are stuck with like a drive-through or a gas station, I try to focus on the things, Jim mentioned this, but like proteins and healthy fats. Like if I can skip the fries, and even if it means like 2 chicken sandwiches instead of a chicken sandwich and fries, I think that's worthwhile. Doubling up on the meat somehow is useful. I also, if you're like, let's say you got to go to a gas station, usually they have those like Lunchable items. You can get some beef jerky. You can get, I call them like adult Lunchables, but it's like salami, like a cracker and cheese.
My local Circle K has like a tube of apples, little rocket apples. Those things are delicious. Like I go out of my way to go get those apples.
Yeah. Or like yogurts, you could get protein shakes. And yeah, it's more packs of almonds or nuts of some form. Yeah, it might be a little bit more expensive, but one of the things I found is like when you eat a little bit better quality stuff, it holds you over a little bit better. And that's the other thing is don't wait until you're hungry to eat it, right? Or to go buy stuff. Like make that stop. Another thing about if you're stuck with like a gas station or a drive-through, a lot of times you can hit a grocery store and just run in there instead, depending on the hours, obviously. But just there's little hacks that you can think about for eating on the go that I think fit into this really well. And a lot of the food thing, like when you're feeling hungry, if you're just undernourished, right? Like you could just get ahead of it by snacking early and often. And the sooner the better. If you could just kind of plan ahead just a little bit, you don't need much. It'll go a long way into not only making you feel better, but probably also improving your performance. So those are my little hacks on that, I guess. I think that's all I got, Jim.
I like it. Shout out to my dietitian. I talked to her about this. And I was like, hey, do you want us to cite you? And she's like, nah, I'm good. but if she does listen to it, just know that you inspired this, and this is a great example of the value added from a human performance team. And I think every agency and every big military unit should look seriously into having a physical trainer, a dietitian, someone who can help you be less injured less often, right? And just have an overall healthier lifestyle. I think that's huge. Yeah, right. Talent management.
My take on that is outside of just injury prevention and, like I said, feeling good, is just like going past that to enhancing your performance. You will shoot better. Yeah. And I don't mean just feel better. I mean like the hydration thing. I mean, that stuff, they've studied this in athletes. I mean, they were measuring like free throws of basketball players, and they've measured shooters of different kinds. Like we're talking actual performance. You will cognitively perform better if you are well nourished.
Yeah. So I want to take my performance enhancing people and get them in my camp.
Yeah.
And to me, that's return on investment, obvious return on investment. Sometimes it's hard to quantify it, but it's clear. And everyone who has benefited from it is like, oh yeah, obviously we want more of that, right? So shout out to my dietitian. She's doing great. And we're listening. And consider taking this to your range and maybe putting that in place of the, shooters with smaller barrels stand closer to the firing line or whatever the hell is up in the pisters.
I've got it's completely random note, but our range the other day we were making fun of, they got we have a cleaning room at the range. Mm-hmm. They got new things of cleaning supplies, and there's these big jugs of it says military grade solvent. And we were joking about this because we're like, that means one of two things. A, it doesn't work for shit. Or B, it works really good, but it'll probably kill you. You'll be eligible for compensation in a few years. So.
Yeah, don't stick your hand in it, maybe. It's funny you mentioned that. I do have a thing about that. Little side note, little tangent. I sat down with the Army program office for small arms, the Army office that buys the M4s and buys the rifles and pistols and stuff. And I'm like, what is the good gun oil? Do I want to use this stuff or that stuff? And they're like, Jim, we did a lot of science. Use goddamn military CLP. Don't get creative on that. We tried them all. We did a bunch of tests. Of course, we locked all the test data away because we don't want anyone to actually read it. But do the CLP. And to their credit, they actually did send me the test data, and I'm a believer. But it needs to say CLP, and it needs to have the mil standard numbers and nomenclature on it if you want the gun to work well. And I know there's some guys who are big shooters who don't follow that, and that's cool. Or they, they mix kerosene and motor oil and nail polish remover. It's the stuff that melts cartoons and Roger Rabbit or whatever. But I use CLP because the smartest people I know on that topic use CLP. And as for the solvent, I don't get my gun that dirty.
They also perform pretty well dirty anyway. So knock the dust off. It'll be fine.
Yeah. And get out there and shoot. That's one of the other things is shooting's supposed to be fun. This is one of the ways you make it a little more fun. Yeah. That's all I got. Be safe out there. Be smart out there. Pack a lunch.
All right, guys, that's all we got for tonight. This episode is brought to you by 09 Holsters. We talk a lot about people, ideas, and hardware on this show. So when we invest in equipment, we always think in terms of experience first. 09 is helping you figure out how to carry the gear you need to be effective. They are built by cops, for cops, with a minimalist design and bomb-proof durability. Radio cases, flashlights, body cameras, even canine remotes, you name it, 09 has been filling a void in tactical duty holsters for more than a decade. Go see what they offer at 09 Holsters. That's ZERO, the number 9, holsters.com. 09, built to win the fight.
And this is Jim. This episode is also brought to you by ManusX. We've talked a lot about the tactical fantasy on this podcast, and one of the quickest ways to break your tactical fantasies and actually improve your performance is by getting real feedback. One of the ways you can do that is with ManusX. You're not going to get better at shooting on your own. You need practice, data, and coaching. And you need to make the most of your ammo with good live and dry fire training. Manus is a family of training devices that tracks you while you train. It times and tracks everything you do in a drill and coaches you as you go. It is indispensable to taking your shooting to the next level. Go find them on manusx.com.
Don't forget that we put out new episodes on the 1st and the 15th of every month. If you like what we're doing, you can head over to Patreon, give us $1 for each new episode. That money's going to go back into bringing you good content. If you want to interact with us, you could find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We are at TacTangents. You can also email info@tacticaltangents.com. All right. That's all we got. Good talk.